Trucker Dump for March 9th, 2010, episode 38, Trucking Rolls. I'm doing air quotes.
Welcome to Trucker Dump, where you'll get one driver's insights and sometimes humorous views of truck driving and the trucking industry, and pretty much anything else he feels like dumping on you. This podcast is brought to you by AboutTruckDriving.com. Resources to help you understand the world of truck driving through the use of stories and a pathetic attempt at humor.
Good day, all, or evening, whenever you're listening. Todd McCann here. Today's podcast is the first part of two. This was a phase where I was trying to make my blog post shorter because all the famous podcasters said that blog posts as long as mine were usually ignored. I later asked my peeps on Twitter and they said otherwise. Perhaps I should step back for all you latecomers. I like to remind everyone now and then that quite a few of my blog posts were written prior to these podcasts. It wasn't until later that I thought an audio version might suit some people better. After all, a lot of my readers are drivers. Duh. So now that that's as clear as mud, let's get on with this week's rather short blog post. Podcast. Whatever. I called this one Trucking Rolls. There's my air quotes again. Dispatchers catch a lot of hell. Sometimes they deserve it, sometimes not. However, more often I'm thinking that it's the planners that deserve to be flogged in the town square, not the dispatchers. Before I explain my loathing of planners, perhaps I should lay out the job descriptions of each of the parties involved. At least this is the way it works at most of the large carriers. First, the dispatcher. In the large companies, the dispatcher is just the connector between the company and the driver. They send you load information. They answer any questions about company policies. If they don't know the answer, they know who will. They help you with minor payroll issues. If they're good at their jobs, they'll listen as a driver vents about the crappy day that they're having. Unfortunately, they don't usually have a lot of pull. They can try to fight for you, but in the end, they have to do what they're told, whether you like it or not. I'm sure they aren't big fans of the system either. Next, there's the salespeople. As you might suspect, these folks seek out customers who need to ship stuff. For the most part, I like these people. Without them, I've got no freight to haul. No freight, no paycheck. What I don't like is some of the contract details that are agreed upon. For instance, some of my carrier's biggest customers require loads to be dispatched at 45 or 50 miles per hour, which is fine if it's a fairly long haul. It's the short runs where this is whack. In other words, if a load pays 500 miles, of course it's 550 actual miles, and it's dispatched at 50 miles per hour, I've got 10 hours to deliver the load. Now let's say it takes 2 hours to eat a decent meal and take a shower. Now I've only got 8 hours to deliver on time instead of 10. So 500 miles divided by 8 hours equals 62.5 miles an hour. Yeah, right. And let's remember, the trip is probably actually closer to 550 miles. Unless I'm coasting down a really steep hill, my truck only goes 65. Heck, a strong headwind could make me late. If I'm late, my company pays a fine to the shipper. Does this affect the salesperson in any way? Nope, but as a driver, I've got a flat scoot. Skipping showers is not something I like to do, and the evil overlord, well, let's just say no one is going to have a good day. And what to eat when you're in such a rush? Well, the buffet is screaming your name. It's trying to yell loud enough to be heard over Ronald and that creepy-looking Burger King serial killer guy. Now one of these shippers has added a new twist. In the past, they'd pay for any and all tolls because it was the fastest route. Due to the tough economy, they've decided to start routing around toll roads when it's possible. Did they change the 50-mile-an-hour dispatch down to 40 or 45 to accommodate for the loss of time that traveling on back roads will cause? Nope. They're expecting miracles. The last trip we took like this, we grumpily skipped a shower, until after delivery, and only stopped for fast food to go and quick potty breaks. We got there with 15 minutes to spare. We'll see how long this lasts when my company has to start paying for a lot more late fees. Next up, we have the customer service representatives, or CSRs. Once the salespeople hook the customers, the CSRs are responsible for dealing with them day to day. They contact the shippers every day to find out what freight needs to be moved and where. They gather all the load information together and pass it off to the elusive planners. The CSR should be happy. I've got no beefs with them. The planner's job is to find the truck nearest to the load's origin and assign it to them. Usually they give the loads to the dispatchers, whose job is to pass it on to the driver. Usually. Herein lies the part that chaps my tater. And with that, I'll pause, take a deep breath, and save the rest for the next post. I guaranteed I'll be worked up for that one. Heck, I already am.
Hey, yo, bud, where do you want this load of feedback?
Well, y'all certainly didn't fail me when it comes to the podcast called Typing Mad at the TSA. I was really mad that day. I probably shouldn't have been blogging. But you people come through with your snark as normal. Okay, let's see what we have to say here. Pam says, somebody got up on the wrong side of the crankshaft. Well, you know what, Pam? You can just shut up. Wow, this is a doozy of a name. BLCZZ999. Wow, that's a whopper. I have no idea how to pronounce that. They say, Todd, I've had a really crappy night, and I live in the Pacific time zone to boot. I like what you had to say, and dude, I was laughing so hard I was crying. I wasn't laughing at you, I was laughing with you. I really did need to laugh. I enjoy reading your blog. Well, BLCZZ999, I'm glad I could supply a chuckle. So you're laughing with me, huh? Sure. Kevin McCaig writes in again and says, back when I was still in training at my first trucking job, I was sleeping in the back when I was awakened by my trainer's sudden stop and conversation with what turned out to be a Border Protection Agency agent. The agent asked if there was anybody in the sleeper. When my trainer said there was, the agent then asked, what color is he? Get him up, I want to see him. Can you imagine what would happen if Homeland Security went door to door asking questions of people like that in the middle of the night? Oh, the things truck drivers must put up with. I love my job, but I often feel like we're required to leave our constitutional rights at the company lot. Huh? What's that, Kevin? Truckers have constitutional rights? Christy Coupler writes in and says, how about telling them there's no one but you in the truck? I absolutely hate lying, and I can't even tell a fib real good, but in this case, when you're dealing with overpaid idiots who take their security jobs a little too seriously, perhaps discretion would have been the better part of valor. I LOL'd with your expression, faster than a squirrel on crack. Great line. I'll have to remember that one. And you had a bad day, driver, and I feel for you. Next time, look 'em in the eye and lie like a rug. Well, once again, Christy, you're cracking me up. I have been known to lie about this to some customers in the past, but since I'd already handed them her license, I was screwed. And I'm positive they'll remember me if I ever go back there. If I ever go back there. And just when I start to think she isn't reading the blog, the evil overlord pops in and says, so, I make bad time on a regular basis, do I? I think I can come up with some new and exciting ways to wake you up from now on, sweetheart. And I don't mean the kind of things you would enjoy, but I know I will. And if that isn't enough, Pam pipes in to help her out, saying you could always publish his sleeping schedule and cell phone number and see what happens. My friends and I are here to help. Well, Pam, with friends like you... Seriously, folks, you guys crack me up. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I love getting these comments and they almost always put a big smile on my face. So keep them coming. And remember, I still haven't gotten my first audio comment yet. Here's how to contact me. Well, am I right or am I right? Okay, I suppose I could be wrong. I mean, I can't remember when I've been wrong in the past, but I'm sure it's happened at some point. No, you may not call the evil overlord. So, if you got any questions or comments, go to abouttruckdriving.com, type TD038 into the search bar, find the comments section, and let her rip. You can also contact me through email at truckerdump@gmail.com, and I can often be found wandering aimlessly through Twitter. Send out the search party for @ToddMcCann over there. That's 2 D's, 2 C's, and 2 N's. And of course, you should subscribe to the podcast and leave a review on iTunes. Thanks for listening. So until next time, drive safe Stay out of my way.